Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Tristana updated complete guide, of course, for the latest patch. And of course, as usual with our updated complete guides, don't forget to check out in the cards above the Tristana basic guide for her skills, leveling, order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with that said, now let's take a look at her loadout. So firstly, looking at the top players, you can see basically all the top players have a very similar build. Basically, the main debate is whether to go for Navori second and Magnetic Blaster third, or Blaster before Navori, right? I'll talk a little bit more about the comparison in the gameplay, but basically I prefer Navori first, right? So we're gonna start with the Gluttonous Grease for the early AD and the Omni-Vamp, and then go immediately into Bloodthirster, which of course gives you the good amount of starting AD, right? It gives you the physical vamp, of course, and then of course you also get that lifeline passive, giving you the armor and magic resist as well as the shield when you get low on HP. And then I like to go into Navori. Now Navori gives you a pretty nice stat line, it gives you AD, attack speed, and of course most importantly, crits will reduce your basic ability cooldowns. Now in Tristana, all three of her basic abilities have decently long cooldowns, so getting the cooldown reduction from Navori is, pretty good. And of course, also increasing your damage by 12%, of course, really helpful as well, especially on your E. Now, Blaster gives you that bonus range and the burst damage, also gives you just a little bit of attack speed and attack damage as well. And of course, finally, for your last crit item, more reminder for the Armor Pen and the Grievous Wounds as usual. Now, no IE really required. Tristana does more than enough damage without IE already. Now, for the last item, you normally want to go for something defensive. Of course, Maw is generally your best option because you get AD as well. But of course, you don't want to build this against a heavy AD team, only against heavy AP. So your other options are options like, for example, your GA, your Twin Guard, which is under defense. If I can actually find it, your Twin Guard, and if you want something more offensive, you could even go for something like Hurricane or Soul Transfer as your last item, if you would like. Right, for the runes, it's the standard ADC loadout, and for the spells, it's Flash together with Cleanse. Now, normally, if you don't need Cleanse, you will go for Exhaust or Barrier. Ghost is not a spell Tristana normally takes. But with all that said, now let's take a look at our gameplay itself. Okay, now moving on to the gameplay. Of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, I will be sure to address them. So I think Tristana is probably best played with a engaged support, just so you have a better early game. And by that I mean, with an engaged support, you can attempt to get kills in lane and then snowball the game. Now Tristana currently, I think, is in the middle in terms of the pack of ADCs. Definitely not amazing, but not horrible either, just a middle of the pack ADC. However, when she gets fed, like if you get a couple of kills in lane, she's one of the best snowballing ADCs. Of course, the other amazing snowballing ADCs are champions like Samira here, for example, who takes a lot of damage from the bomb, pops the barrier, is really low. Leona gets the first kill. Now I'm like 1 HP at this point. Lulu flashes in the bush. I'm just trying to run away. Probably should not have run towards the enemy tower, but I'm not sure why Lulu didn't auto attack me there to kill me instantly, because I thought I was gonna die instantly anyway. So I was just kind of walking around, but probably should just walk more towards my tower, maybe pull Lulu closer, and maybe Leona can kill her, although I think that's pretty unlikely. But regardless, overall general positive maybe I wouldn't say positive, right? Both supports got a kill, and pretty much both ADCs died, so I don't know if I would consider that positive. But here, Leona goes in again, allows us to follow up with the jump, and we're probably gonna finish the Samira off. She's like 1 HP at this point. We finally kill her, get the jump reset, jump out of the way, as we're also tanking minion aggro. In comes the Viego. We're gonna have to run from him. I'm surprised he didn't immediately flash onto me, and he actually polymorphs Lulu polymorphs the Leona, and he finishes the kill on the tower and then flashes out. There I tried to trade the kill onto Lulu, but Lulu survives on pretty much 1 HP. So you can see it's a very action-packed early game, which I think is generally a good sign for Tristana, because Tristana in the early game, her weakness is her short range, right? She cannot really farm minions against a lot of ADCs because of her short range, but in this case, Samira has just as short of a range. As she goes completely on top of me, I'm gonna have to hop out, barely surviving there. So I don't really have that weakness as much, but in all ins, she's very, very strong, being able to just jump on top of somebody, full stack her bomb, and then get a kill that way, hopefully. So pretty decent matchup here with Samira also having very short range. Since I was trying to like talk to you guys about in the early parts of the gameplay, I think it's a lot better to play with an engaged support, because that way you have a chance of getting like fed in the early game when they engage and you go in follow up. Hopefully you guys get a ton of kills and then snowball off of that and then just become a machine gun in the later part of the game, compared to just playing with an enchanter and then slowly scaling into the mid and late game. Now Tristana is a very good scaling champion, not the most amazing on like 2 items, not a very strong mid game, but in the late game she's very strong, scales very well. So that's another way to play her, but I think it's a very boring way to play. I'm not sure why Samira decides to just go in right there. Pops the barrier, Lulu pops the shield as well, but she's not gonna survive. Now Lulu also in trouble. I bomb her back towards our base. However, she slows me down, pops the shield, and she's really difficult to escape. Leona flashes forward, tries to finish the kill, but somehow I get that last auto attack in and I actually secure the kill for myself. That was a pretty messy chase there on the Lulu. What looked like a very simple kill ended up being a lot more difficult than what it could have been. But the death timers between Samira and Lulu are now a little bit desynced. We get 2 plates off of the tower and we can reset. And these are the early game kills that I'm talking about. Over there you see that Samira made a mistake by dashing in. My engaged support Leona is able to capitalize on that mistake and allow me to kill both Lulu as well as Samira, and this now puts me at a very good lead, and hopefully I can snowball here. However, Twitch, my jungler, is trying his best to help the enemy team by providing them some kills. Now I'm trying to jump back onto Samira, who now nearly has her ultimate already, goes in with the ulti under tower, unfortunately doesn't do quite enough damage, and I'm able to complete the kill. I grab the fruit, giving me enough health to now chase after the Lulu. However, Morgana is now coming, flashes forward and hits me with the chains. Unfortunately, there's no real way I can escape there, so there's no point of me cleansing or anything. She has the black shield on her, so I can't even ult her away, so nothing much I could really do in that situation. Unfortunately, we just get another death. However, we are still in pretty good shape, still 1k gold up on the Samira. So definitely having an engaged support is the way to go, so you can make these kind of plays. So as promised from the build section of the video, the next thing I want to kind of discuss about Tristana is comparing the Vori second item versus Blaster second item. Now I actually have tried both quite extensively, and I will actually be making a video on Blaster second item, because I do have quite a lot of experience on that, and I do have a gameplay ready to go for that as well. Of course, have not yet made the video on it. So the main difference I feel between the two is with Navori you get way better DPS, in the sense that in longer fights you will be able to get an additional rotation of your E, and you will also be able to get your Q up permanently, basically, in that sense, and you just have better DPS over the course of a long fight. However, with Blaster, you basically get a lot more burst damage, because the burst damage when you proc Blaster is actually really significant. So it's a lot easier with Blaster to get a quick kill and then get out, right? So it's really just, I wouldn't say it's a playstyle difference, because eventually by third item you're gonna get both, but it's sort of at second item, what do you want? Do you prefer that burst damage to try to burst someone down quickly, or do you prefer that, that DPS, right? And of course with Navori, it's not that you don't have burst damage, it's just that you don't have that extra 1 auto attack with or burst damage you get from Blaster, right? So essentially I wouldn't say it's like similar, but it's kind of like a little bit of a different style in terms of the second item, right? So now I have no idea what Samira is doing there. She's trying to get rid of the ward, but me and Leona are like just gonna kill her, right? So she dies yet again. She's 0 and 6 at this point. Now Viego is soloing the dragon, and myself and Leona are just going to rotate over and go for him. So notice we're not going for the dragon, we're just trying to focus the Viego. We're trying to kill him before he can kill the dragon. However, unfortunately, the Lulu with the shields and the ult is able to actually keep the Viego alive long enough for him to actually secure the dragon. Now he does pay for it with his life, but honestly in that scenario he wasn't going to get out anyway, so him just getting the dragon there is probably a huge win for him already. So here we secure the tower in the bot lane, which is now going to free us up to rotate to other lanes. Now we're 5-2 and 4, pretty decent KDA, and we are about 6k gold in our pocket, which is pretty much the highest in the game. But Set and Viego are, pretty fed as well as Morgana, who is the most fed member of the enemy team, having even more gold than me. So yeah, 6k gold is not the most gold in the game. But anyways, here we're going to quickly grab this red buff, rotate back to the lane, and see if we can get anything done here. Slow comes down from the ulti of the Leona. Orianna ults absolutely nobody. We're gonna go for the Lulu here, and the reason why we're going for Lulu here is actually because Samira is 0 and 6 and she's not worth a lot of gold, so we actually go for Lulu. Viego tries to chase, doesn't quite get it. We flash forward to follow up onto the Samira, and all three of them end up dying, and we pick up all 2 out of 3 of the kills. Right, so you notice Samira at that point 0 and 6, right, or now 0 and 7, so she's really not worth very much gold, whereas Lulu at that point was 3 and 2. So she's actually worth more gold than the Samira. So at that point, I think actually focusing the support first actually kind of makes more sense, because Lulu is just worth more gold than Samira, and Lulu can keep Samira alive anyway. So might as well just focus the Lulu and then focus the Samira afterwards. Now that does mean Samira does get an ulti off, but you guys saw her ulti did no damage and wasn't able to kill any of the 3 of us. So Samira really not too much of a threat at the moment. However, we all know that Samira is one of those champions that basically can come online at a team fight where you play badly, right? Like if you're all low, Samira just goes in with the resets with the ulti and then just kills everybody, gets back into the game instantly, and the game is never over with Samira, right? So Samira is one of those champions that you can come back, into the game with pretty easily. So yeah, now we see Set and Viego in the general area. We're trying to rotate over to mid. The very annoying thing is that Orianna keeps coming bot, right? And when we rotate to mid, she goes to mid as well. Now, it's kind of a little bit difficult in terms of lane assignments because our team is not really cooperating. Now here, Morgana goes very far up, but does have that black shield to avoid CC from the Leona, so we cannot really take advantage of that. She does have Rylai's as a first item with Luden, so definitely lacking in terms of damage because of the Rylai's. So she's a little bit less of a threat than she would have been if she had some other items, like Liandry's, for example, instead of Luden's. Instead of Rylai's, sorry. And here, we're just finding a place to defense now. That's a huge, like, 3-4 man set out there. Morgana has the stasis. I'm trying to finish the kill on her, but unfortunately we don't get it. Instead, it's Twitch that gets it. Now, as I mentioned just now, Samira now comes in with that triple kill, goes back in on 1 HP, and obviously just dies. But that's kind of the Samira moment I'm talking about. One bad fight where everyone's low. She just dashes in, kills everybody, and kind of gets back into the game. And that's exactly what happened here with Samira now having 2 full items, which is almost the same as me. Like, I have 2.5 items at the moment, right? She has like 2 items, right? And she's like 1k gold behind me at this point, which is about half an item, right? So she is somewhat getting back into the game, unfortunately, and she actually has more gold, or more or similar gold than like most members on my team, which is just messed up considering she's 0 and she was 0 and 7 at one point in time, and now she's 4 and 8, right? Which is exactly the point that I was trying to make just now when I was talking about Samira and how Samira can easily, get back into the game. Now here I'm just looking to farm. A lot of shenanigans happening on the top side jungle with Twitch and Riven already dying. Now I'm actually recalling and going back to the top side jungle. I was going to take this gate, but I'm thinking like that's probably not a good idea because that's going to put me in a dangerous position which I may not want to be in. And now I'm just going to go ahead and push the mid lane wave, popping the Q just for easier wave clear, because basically your Q is going to come back up instantly because of Navori, as long as you can attack a target, which is what I'm easily doing here. I'm just staying to collect the next mid lane wave as well. And a fight is starting to break out at the Dragon Pit with Riven dying instantly to Samira. Now Leona goes in here, and I'm just DPSing from the backline, as is Twitch. Huge 3-man Orianna ulti here, is everyone's gonna die. Set in trouble as well. Last man standing is the Set. We have the bomb on him. He pops the W, doesn't really do very much damage. I'm just slowly chipping away at him here. He finally dies to me under the tower. I'm gonna hop back out. Twitch is gonna secure the dragon, and I'm pinging for Baron because enemy team has all just died. It's probably a pretty simple and free Baron to take. While my team is still doing the dragon, I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm just going to go for the mid lane tower here. Unfortunately my minions are almost running out, but I'm gonna be able to secure the mid lane tower, and then rotate over to the Baron. A little bit greedy here, I guess, because now entire enemy team has respawned, so this is actually a pretty dangerous Baron, because now the whole enemy team can come and contest with the exception of Set. However, we can see Morgana and Samira going bot lane, and you can see Lulu in the mid lane, so really it's only Viego who's just coming in here, ults over the pit a little bit too late, doesn't have flash and is just going to die. Gives me the reset, allowing me to jump over and chase Lulu. Lulu flashes over. Morgana tries to go into the entire team, but does end up going down. She did have stasis up, but in this case I was actually able to ult her, which CC'd her and prevented her from using the stasis. So sometimes that early ult does indeed make sense. We now have our Magnetic Blaster third item, which is going to make us, do a lot more damage, and now we're really fed. Right? We also get the Last Whisper item, which is going to be pretty useful against the Set, especially who is pretty tanky at this point. So here a fight is breaking out in the top lane, and I'm just slowly making my way there because the fight has lasted for pretty long at this point, but I don't think I'm actually needed, so instead I'm just going to go for this Rip buff here, and then we can secure the top lane tower together with the Twitch. Morgana coming to defend, but I'm not sure why she's actually coming here because I can just kill her like that. She had stasis again, but probably didn't expect the burst damage from me, and instantly just gets one shot, right? Like Tristana, as I said, when you get fed, you really do a lot of damage. You can see here I'm just getting, that was like 2 auto attacks against a very tanky Set, right? Deals a very decent amount of damage. And now we're just going to go for this tier 2 tower, making use of our Baron buff to secure all these enemy towers, and now checking if there's any jungle farm here, which there isn't, unfortunately. So now we're going to grab a reset. Maybe we even have enough to get our Mole Reminder. There it is. And we also have the stasis ready as well, just in case, we get caught by a Morgana binding, by Samira ulting in. These kind of risky situations, right? We want to have that stasis to be able to remain safe. And here it looks like a fight's gonna break out in the top lane area here. I'm making my way there slowly. I don't want to be too trigger happy and jump in, right? I just want to stay in the back line and DPS until I find an opportunity to, to go in. And here in the back line, we're just gonna focus the first target, which is Set. Now I see Morgana here isolated by herself, so I'm actually jumping in onto the Morgana. Now Viego somehow misses the stun on me, but I did have cleanse and flash anyway, so it wouldn't have been too big of a problem. And Morgana is able to flash away to safety there. However, with that, 3 of the enemy team members are dead. My whole team is still alive and relatively healthy, which then allows us to push down this mid lane inhibitor. And Morgana goes down again. Samira now finds herself in a spot of bother here. We're just going to run her down and just end the game right here and now, or try to end the game right here and now. There we go. And with that, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.